All right, old buddy, old pal. I've not spoken to anyone this morning before filming this, recording this, so apologies if my voice sounds a little bit Barry White. Great to see you, if even not in person, but great to see you getting a shift in. That's the key, my dear boy. That is the key. So I'm going to waffle. We love a bit of waffle, so I'm going to waffle a little bit while we watch you swing. I think this is the first driver on the reel. And while you're swinging away, I would make a big point of saying well done for getting at it. Interactions with the golf club, we know that is very, very important. So nice to see you with club in hand. Before we get to the sort of the cues, the prompts, the to-dos, if you like, or the focal points to keep moving in the right direction, so to speak. Yes, great to have the data. And I think rather than poring over the details of it, I would sort of summarise the highlights to my mind. Your top, or certainly that I can see from those numbers, your top ball speed with the club is 128.5 miles an hour, which is very, very respectable, well above what's reckoned to be the world average of about 115 miles an hour. And 128 miles an hour, let's call it 130 between friends. That's going to be good enough for 215, 220 yards off the tee, which is fine. Your ball speed will go up when your club face corresponds better with your swing path. More on that in a second, but if you try to think about the best way to get more ball speed, the quickest and simplest way, if you did nothing with your swing, would be to have a 0 degrees lofted golf club, and the ball speed will go up. But of course, you won't launch the ball and you won't spin the ball, so it's pretty pointless, other than for your ego. So we need a certain amount of loft to get some launch and get some spin and optimise the ball flight. So that looks like it's the house club from down at the Golf Hub. So I'm guessing you've still got that Christmas cracker of a thing, which I wouldn't give to a nutless monkey to play golf with, because it's a piece of monkey shit. So if you haven't sorted that out already, I might be misremembering that, but we should probably think of trying to plunder the golf savings and spend about 125 quid on a Callaway XR with a stiff shaft in it, because that will suit you, and it's a pretty much universally acclaimed nice enough club, but it's a bit of a sleeper when it comes to it's not expensive, but it really does do the job, and it will serve you for a good while to come before you get double serious. All right, probably about time we started to analyse things. I think rhythm, very, very decent. You can see maybe right at the end of this piece of footage that we sort of rock backwards onto our back foot, maybe suggesting, I can't see a front on angle, so maybe suggesting your ball position might be creeping a bit too far back and you're sort of manipulating your body backwards, which again, none of this is death on a stick. I think overall really, really good. The yellow line that I've put in there is significant. Oh, and by the way, if your camera could be to the left of where this coffee cup is, we're sort of looking at you from this direction, a little bit in front of you. Forget the degrees then, that's just the tech doing its thing. We're looking at you from sort of this direction. I'd rather be looking at you from sort of this direction. All right, so the camera a bit further to the left, as in where the coffee cup is. You can see this space to the right of the screen here. If you can align the camera so effectively the screen touches each side of the iPhone's view, the camera's view, then that would be really helpful, because I think I'll pretty much give us a consistent pattern to view you from. But again, I'd rather be looking at you from a little bit down the line for continuity, because that's the sort of universal universally sort of consistent place to look at a golf swing from down the line, either front on or down the line. You can look at a golf swing from different angles and still get a good bit of what you need to get, but overall you'd want to look at it from a little bit more of a consistent perspective, because when people are explaining, including me, when people are explaining things, they'll generally be explaining them from the perspective of looking at you directly down the line. So again, a little bit more from that angle will do us. All right, nitpicky, but anyway, we can still do some analysis if you like. Now, this yellow line extends from the ball through a point in your upper sternum, a point of rotation. I'll stick that back in there again. All right, I was trying to draw a little circle roughly between your armpits, where your centre of gravity is, your centre of mass, which will be sort of vertically above your knees, and it'll again look a bit further out than that because of where we're looking at you from. But your arms hanging down from your shoulders and knees softly flexed above where your toes start. And I can't quite see your butt because it's off the side of the camera, which isn't that helpful, but it would normally sit a little bit outside of your heels, and things are looking good. So you can see the way on the way back, and again, I think the club head goes outside that line on the way back. I actually don't like that, don't mind that. Get that right, I don't mind that at all. I think it will look a bit more exaggerated because of the angle we're looking at it from as well. But I really quite like the backswing you take, and to that point, the club rises a little bit above the ideal biomechanical plane, and there's quite a lot of footwork, quite a lot of flexion in your left knee, and quite a lot of straightening in your right leg, which I may or may not have commented on before. But really and truly, it's not ideal, and there's quite a gap between your forearms. But again, this is all nitpicking. It's not stuff I want you to have to remember. But the club itself runs fairly parallel with your swing path, albeit your hands have, the mass of the club itself has risen above the ideal swing plane. But we're only talking ideals here. It's decent. It gives you a really good chance. It's pretty sound. You've kept your body angle, so to speak. Your forward bend has been maintained, so that's really good. But I think what is more underwhelming, and I'll just comment on the club coming and arriving at the ball from above that line, and then exiting more or less on it. You can see your hands there just appearing, just a glimpse of them on that line. So that's hinting that the club is travelling from above that line onto that line, which effectively means it's travelling a little bit across the ball as it travels through. So that's what's causing the curve to the right in combination with the club face that's pointing more at the target. You can see initially your ball is starting on line, but it's curving off to the right. And the reason for that is the club face in relation to your swing path is open. It's not open to the target, but it's open to the direction of travel of your golf club. You might need to listen back to that sentence a few times to let it make sense, but I promise you it does make sense. It's about as succinctly as saying it in English can be put, but it's the truth. So club coming a little bit across, and as a result of the face being open in relation to the direction of travel, club's going to the left a little bit, and the face is pointing down the target line, which is kind of what we've asked you to do for the time being. But with force added, it will curve the ball significantly to the right. If you do that with a sand wedge, you'll just get a high soft landing shot. You won't get any curve. So that's an interesting one, because with your short shots, your curve won't be as pronounced. But when you add force, which is the major player in your driver, 130 miles an hour ball speed, and when there's a little bit of disparity between face and path, you'll curve to the right. So that's the only reason you're curving to the right. It's not because of your club face, doing a good job with that. Or certainly it's not because your club face isn't pointing at the target. It is, but it's the fact that the swing path's going to the left that makes it curve to the right. I think I've said that enough. Now, really what's my main bugaboo, and this is the major thing, is if we look at the moment of impact, all right, here we can see exhibit A. So your right arm, and I'll take away the plane line, your right arm is more or less at its full length, your hips are sideways to the target, and your feet are flat on the ground, all right? If you took away the blur of the club, it would almost look like you're standing still. I know I've gone on at you about this before, and while I'm talking, I'm going to put some images of everyday recreational players who show up to have lessons with me, and in a perfect world, in a short period of time, they'll be much more right side onto the ball, so they'll hit the ball on the right side of their body. I'll put a couple of professionals up as well alongside this as I'm talking, so I'm going to waffle a little bit, so it gives me time when I edit the video to put some cutaways on to just demonstrate what I mean by that. The impact happens on the right of your body. All right, when we impact the ball at the moment, you basically look like you're facing the ball instead of your body rotated to the right. Okay, so I think that point is made, but I believe if we didn't put it on a thread, I thought we summarised it. I think it's on our thread. You might have to trawl back through our thread, which is quite extensive, to look at the impetus there. But I think you need to have a look at that again and just kind of double down on it. It's a little bit like when you stand in front of me and note that my contractions aren't for perhaps maximum. or that my shoulders aren't back when I'm doing a pec fly or something like that. You know, that my shoulders will round and come forwards, and if I can keep my shoulders back, that asks more of the muscles. That asks more of my pecs, and therefore it does what it's meant to do. So I think you as well as anyone better understand that. So we got to learn to hit the ball on your right. I'm just going to segue to a couple of still images of a couple of other shots just to prove to you that this is a consistent thing. Here we're about 140 odd yards away. It says on the carry there 143, and although the ball needs to travel quite some way and we need to put quite a bit of energy into it, again, feet flat, hips sideways, right arm at full length. And this moment of impact, which again, if you hold your thumb in front of the golf club and conceal the fact that the club is blurred and therefore moving, and we can see the ball has just left the face milliseconds ago, you'd be forgiven for thinking you were just standing still. So chest facing the ball, right arm at its full length, hips sideways, feet flat. So strong trend. I mean, I will forgive you. It is only a relatively small shot. It's a 100-yard shot. But, again, the trend, the hitting style, the impact with the club on the right, that would see to it that the forward swing sequence included a path which was a little bit less over the top and a little bit less out to in. All right, so I'm going to do a little piece to camera for you right now outside to emphasise the main points. Right, my pedigree chum, I can't be asked to get mic'd up, so I'm just going to shout at the camera. Hopefully it'll all come together. One of these, my dear boy, come in handy in a sec. I'll sling that for the moment. More familiar utensil for you here, golf club. So when you're sideways on from the camera and we impact the golf ball and our feet are flat and our hips are sideways, our right arm has to be long. If when we fold our right arm and externally rotate our right arm, that's what you'll call it, I'm sure, if that arm is that shape, okay, then to get the club to be able to reach the ball, if I rotate my body, I can retain that flexion in the right arm, wind it back. There's a couple of images there where you'll see the elbow and the hip are close together. So if you imagine fusing your hip and elbow together, then rotating is the only way to be able to physically reach the ball. The only way to be able to physically reach the ball is by rotating, just in case the microphone didn't catch that. Okay, but you can see glutes, you can see left leg, all right, and you can see some evidence of footwork, okay, there. So those are some killer and most important points. If we don't see those things, then we aren't doing it right, basically. So the essence of it, the club is on your right when you hit the ball with it, okay? So I'm facing the camera, the club is on my right. Impact happens with the club on this side of your body. Your rhythm's coming along beautifully, by the way. Your balance is coming along nicely. Your strength allows you to use just your arms to swing. So we almost have the club arrive at the ball we hit, we're flat on the ground, and then all the footwork happens afterwards, which I think I might have mentioned before. The tennis racket and the relevance of that was to try to suggest that, when you're hitting a strong sort of forehand down the line shot, and I don't know how many times you've picked up a tennis racket, if it's anything like me, this stays in the garage most of the time, but this opening up of the body, almost feeling like your body is facing the target when you strike the ball, even to the point where your face and your body are facing towards the target. If I'm looking at you in this respect as the target, it feels like the club is to this side of me, to the right side of me. So my left arm is long and my right arm is relatively short. So that practice emphasis, shall we say, just standing here, synchronizing things so it feels like the club is on the right hand side as much as possible, will allow you to develop that feeling. Cheers. Develop that feeling so you can then apply it to the ball, because the ball is obviously taking up a lot of your attention. I always feel like if somebody shows any signs of keeping their eye on the ball, keeping their head down, their rotation disappears immediately. It's all about rotation, all about opening your body up, all about having the club on this side of you, the end. All right, just move in that direction and you're moving in the correct direction. But if you video yourself and you capture yourself, facing the ball when you hit it, we're not getting as far as we'd like. Now, little uptick, and I'm going to send a couple of links which are, you know, to the relevant videos to watch, so that it doesn't sound like me just droning on and you don't watch this video back in isolation from anything else. There's a couple of other videos I've done that are complementary to this and relevant to you, rather than just watching the random stuff that the algorithm pumps you with. I would emphasize the fact that when you get to the end of your backswing, all right, if you soften the pressure of your hold and just let the club fall down, it will go this way. All right, it will essentially fall behind you. If it goes that way first, so above that yellow line you saw me drawing earlier on, if it goes that way, or if it's above that line and stays above that line, then the implication there is that the external rotation of the right arm has become internal rather too quickly. So if you're throwing a punch, you store, or you're skipping a stone across a pond is probably my favorite one, you store up this energy and you have then something to give away. Your body starts it, brings the arm along, and then the arm unloads that potential, right? And again, you throw it on your right when you release, so that way. So the sequencing is, this stays, is brought along by the body, and is given away at the opportune moment. So what you can do with a rehearsal swing, you can stand up at your full height, you can swing the club back, and you can just let the club fall to the ground. You get this sort of almost cycling this way, right? So this way first. So if we put that into context as a golf swing, you go back, and then we let the club fall that way. So external rotation of that right arm, you exaggerate it even more when the club goes that way. Spookily, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe it's millions of years of evolution, but whenever I do that first, you know, that's not taking the club towards the target. So my body sort of picks up the impetus to bring the club along for the ride. So it's quite spooky sometimes when I get people doing that. They start rotating their body the other way at the same time, so you get that separation, and then that catches up. Weird feeling at first, but totally legit, and you'd experience it in many other walks of life. Again, you've got to store something up to give it away. If you give that away first, yeah, that's no good. So this way and through. All right, this way and through. So it's like, it ends up being rather reminiscent of a topspin forehand, that way. So this way, that way, as opposed to that way. All right, we're not hitting down onto it like it's a tent peg. All right, it's going this way first and through. All right, that way and through. Crack on.